I want to start with a quote from UNICEF. The true measure of a nation's standing is how well it attends to its children, their health and safety, their material security, their education and socialisation, and their sense of being loved, valued and included in the families and societies into which they are born. And in fact, if you look at the last 100 years, I guess on the whole that's been pretty good. But if you look at the last 20 to 30 years, then you've got what the Canadians call modernity's paradox, where we have had increasing prosperity, but there's been a dramatic and very worrying increase in the complex diseases and problems affecting our children. Things as broad as asthma, diabetes, overweight and obesity, the whole range of psychological and mental health problems, with the tip of that being suicides, eating disorders and other behaviour problems, disabilities, things like low birth weight, which haven't improved in 50 years in Australia. So how has our affluent society failed our children? Can we explain these changes in child outcomes by the changes in society? Now, the OECD has championed this and realises now that the excess focus on GDP and wealth creation has not been good for societal success. The children are almost like the canaries in the mine for what's happening in Australian society.
So I suppose the question is, does the Australian community value families and children anyway? You know, there are websites titled Hating Children. Hating Children. Recent research suggests that parents living with children have very high depression rates compared with the childless. And there are, of course, the more sober calls by population experts for us to limit the world's population to ensure a better quality of life for those who already exist. Stay-at-home mothers have lower status than employed mothers, and they're exhorted to work outside, yet our childcare systems and our work-family practices remain in the dark ages. So I think there's really a state of confusion, a real state of confusion over the value of children, because the place of children in society seems to have shifted under our feet.
How does care fit into a 24-hour day when parents work? When both parents work, or for single parent families when the sole parent works? In other words, how do nations fit children into their economic day? This is the challenge. It forms the nub of the work-family struggle, and it's the gauntlet that children represent.
Parents are a shrinking minority in the developed world, and they do feel under attack. They are, in general, as parents older, locked into privatised households in uncaring communities and workplaces indifferent to their family responsibilities. We focus, for example, on changing faulty or unsafe parenting behaviour, rather than creating a context in which doing better as a parent is easier. A child-friendly community should be the goal, not just kind and helpful parents.
Children's well-being depends on family resources, and that especially depends on things like parents' mental health, on their income and their time. And jobs affect all three of these things. A really family-friendly job does not compromise the family resources upon which children depend. It supplies adequate pay. It allows parents enough time to do the two jobs of working and caring for children, and it gives them the conditions that build their health and well-being and doesn't erode it. That's what we mean by a child-friendly job.
We need to do something about increasing the value of children, and that there is something that each of us can do regardless of what our roles is in our particular jobs, our setting, our workplace, whatever it might be, that we can enhance the well-being of children and youth.
But if we don't do something, and pretty dramatically, we're going to be seeing this increase going up. Can we start to change these values, because that's what's going to enable Australia to get its children right for this 21st century?
And the ARACY proposed national strategy is designed to make everybody feel that the bringing up of children and the welfare and protection and maximising of children's potential is a whole of community responsibility. It's not just the parents, it's not just the carers, it's not just the teachers, it's not just the coach. It's anybody and everybody in our society has a responsibility to look out for children.
I would argue our approach must be tougher, more realistic, more forward-looking and more demanding of proper political and social responses to the real and changing needs of children. A whole-of-government children's policy is needed, not piecemeal actions by separate government departments. Child policy as an afterthought is no longer acceptable.